What's cracking, guys? Bruce Matson here, your host show, Metric Scout Fantasy Football. The other day, I dropped a mock draft, and I said, if you dropped me 20 likes, you're going to get another one real quick. You dropped 20 likes that day, within a few hours, and you know what? I got to pay up. I got to give you another mock draft. I got one here for you today. The new thing I got for you guys, though, drop 50 likes on this video, and I'll come back at you with a 4-round rookie mock draft, and I'll have it up pretty quick on the site so you don't have to wait for it. Hit that like button. Let's get this baby going. With that being said, let's dig into this rookie mock draft. So with this mock draft, I wanted to be a little bit different. I went 1 QB. The last 3 or 4 mocks have been super flex, so we had to go back to old school, old traditional 1 QB rookie mock draft. There are some people in 1 QB rookie mock draft, so this is going to benefit them. Also, this gives us a look at a few extra skill players, so no harm, no foul. If you just play super flex, you're still going to get a look at some players, another look at another mock draft. But let's begin with the first player going off the board at the 101 pick. We're going wide receiver here, and it's Treylon Burks. The wide receiver one for a lot of people. It's between him and Garrett Wilson. This year had a 41.15% market share of Arkansas's passing production and 3.57 yards per route run. He's going to be drafted in the first round. He's going to have the draft capital, and he's going to hold his dynasty value for a good bit. Moving on to the second pick in this draft at the 102. Here, we drafted Breece Hall, running back from Iowa State. And for a lot of people, he is the RB1 or maybe the RB2, but he's up there. He's going to get draft capital. He's going to be selected at least in the second round. I don't see him falling farther than that. Averaged 2.83 yards after contact per attempt and has been productive throughout his collegiate career. Moving on to the third pick in this draft, they selected Drake London, wide receiver from USC. It was productive all year. There wasn't a week that went by where he wasn't making big plays in the highlights. Even after his ankle injury, he still managed to own a 30.28% market share of USC's passing production. That's with the missed games baked in, so that's a big-time number there still. Had 3.52 yards per route run, which is a high threshold there. Drake London, though, more than likely is going to get first-round draft capital. More than likely is going to be one of the top wide receivers in this draft. Moving on to the fourth pick. Here we selected Isaiah Spiller, running back from Texas A&M. Averaged 3.63 yards after contact per attempt. Has been considered one of the top running backs in this class for a long time. He's thick, runs with some burst, and moves laterally very well. Moving on to the 105 spot in this mock draft. Here we selected Garrett Wilson, wide receiver from Ohio State. And some people have him as the wide receiver 1. A lot of people have him as the wide receiver 2. He's up there. I can say for sure he's a good prospect, has good ball skills, good route runner, very cerebral, and more than likely is going to get that draft capital. More than likely will be a first-round selection. Moving to the sixth pick in this draft. Here they drafted Kenneth Walker, running back from Michigan State. This guy was in talks for the Heisman earlier this year. Had a blow-up game against Michigan. Really sealed the deal for his NFL draft prowess. But this guy rushed for over 1,600 yards, 18 touchdowns, and just blew up this season. I'm expecting him to do well in rookie drafts this year. At the 107 spot, 7th player off the board. Here they drafted Jamison Williams, wide receiver from Alabama, formerly from Ohio State. This dude's got 4.3 speed. Took over the Alabama offense this year. Had over a 30% market share. Should get first-round draft capital. And will get the opportunity to be productive when he gets with his NFL team, considering his team will be using a high draft pick for him. Moving on to the 8th pick in this draft, the 108. They drafted my boy, David Bell, wide receiver from Purdue. Bell broke out at age 18, his initial freshman season, one of 3 wide receivers to do so. him, George Pickens, and Justin Ross. So those are only 3 wide receivers to break out at age 18. Had a 31.47% market share produced passing production this year and has been productive throughout his whole collegiate career. Moving on to the 9th pick. These guys drafted another guy of mine, which is George Pickens, wide receiver from Georgia. Dude broke out at age 18, like I previously mentioned with David Bell. Top wide receiver in this draft. If it wasn't for the ACL injury, I feel like we're getting an ACL discount with Pickens. I feel like out of all these wide receivers, he may be the guy that blossoms. He's got a high upside, high floor, and a guy that I'm willing to stack a bunch of chips on. Moving on to the 10th pick in this draft, the 110. The next wide receiver off the board is going to be Jahan Dotson from Penn State. Good chance that he's going to be a first rounder. At least will be high-end second-round pick. Draft capital is probably going to be there. He's getting mocked high. Had a 35.89% market share of Penn State's passing production, and he broke out at age 20. Look for Dotson to creep up the board in rookie drafts this spring. Moving on to the 111 pick here for this selection, they chose Kyren Williams, running back from Notre Dame. This dude blocks his face off. He's got a lot of burst. He's got a lot of speed. He catches the ball out of the backfield. Good chance he gets decent draft capital. Second rounder, third rounder, somewhere in that range. But it's going to be there, so he's going to have the opportunity to prove himself early in his career. With the last pick in the first round, the 112 here, they selected Chris Olave. He's going to get draft capital. He's going to be selecting the first round. I highly doubt there's a situation where he falls in the draft. He's a very nuanced player, can run routes, set DBs up, and create separation. He's got speed. He's got burst. Before we went into this 2021 season, he was considered one of the top wide receivers in this class. He fell a little bit, and now he's being drafted at a discount. But that's it for the first round of this draft. Time to regroup the horses, and let's dig into round 2. And the first pick in round 2 is Wan'Dale Robinson from Kentucky. He's one of my favorite wide receivers in this draft. He's usually falling in the second round range, which is a good price tag for a guy who broke out with 2 collegiate programs. One with Nebraska at age 19 and this year at age 20 with Kentucky with a 43.11% market share of their passing production. One of the top wide receivers in the SEC. He is very explosive, creates separation with a short area quickness, and he's fun to watch. Moving on to the second pick in the second round, the 202 spot. Here they selected Tyler Algier, team thick. 1,600 yards rushing, 23 touchdowns, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. Look for him to get drafted higher than expected. At the 203 spot, third player off the board in the second round, they selected Justin Ross, wide receiver from Clemson. This dude was blown up early in his career for the spinal injury. After that, things went a little haywire. This season, he managed to own over 20% market share of Clemson's passing production. Clemson's offense was a wreck this year, kind of impacted his stock a little bit. Plus, he was out of sight, out of mind for a little bit, but Justin Ross is a baller. Moving on to the fourth pick in the second round, the 204 slot. Here, they drafted Sky Moore from Western Michigan. One of my favorite second-round wide receivers. Very productive throughout his collegiate career. Broke out at age 19 and had a 39.19% market share of their passing production this year. Be on the lookout for Sky Moore. On to the 205 pick. Here, they drafted John Mechie, wide receiver from Alabama. I'm looking for him to get higher draft capital than what people are expecting. I feel like he's going to be drafted in the second round-ish, somewhere around there. A lot of hype from the media, and I think that's going to play into the scouting from NFL teams, and NFL teams love paying the Alabama tax. Whether we agree with it or not, it's probably going to happen, and that's going to boost his overall rookie value a little bit in drafts. Moving on to the 206 spot, the next player selected is Rachaad White, running back from Arizona State. This guy can catch the ball in the backfield. He can run with it too. And really, I just want to see where he goes in the draft. This year had over 1,000 yards, 15 touchdowns, and caught 38 balls. I like his receiving prowess, and if he can get the opportunity, he could be a nice, sneaky PPR play in fantasy. Moving on to the 207. these jabronis drafted Trey McBride from Colorado State. He's going to be in a lot of mock drafts here in the second round range because he's considered a top tight end in fantasy this year out from the rookie class. And we saw this from the Senior Bowl. We saw him run good routes. We saw him catch the ball in traffic, good hands, high market share throughout his career at Colorado State. Overall good ball player. Moving on to the 208 spot, and we got our first quarterback coming off the board here in this 1 QB mock draft, and it's Malik Willis, quarterback from Liberty. The Konami code is with this dude, and the upside is grand. We're shooting our shot with upside. This late in the draft, this is probably a good time to pull the trigger on a quarterback with high-end upside. The downside isn't much at this point, so might as well do it. And with his rushing ability, his big play ability, if you cash in on that, you're going to be cashing in big time. Moving to the 210, and we got a new guy, a new face for our mock draft series in this spot. We haven't had him selected yet, and that's Dameon Pierce, running back from Florida. Had a big showing at the Senior Bowl. This guy runs hard. This guy runs tough. His team thick. He can move laterally well. Has some decent tape. The production wasn't there, but what we see on tape, what we're seeing him do on the field, he's doing some good things, and if he's in the right opportunity, he gets the chances that he could be able to blossom for us. Now for the 211 pick. They drafted another quarterback, second quarterback off the board, last quarterback in this draft, and they drafted Matt Corral, quarterback from Ole Miss. Very good selection here considering that we're getting in the tail end of the second round. Upside, the top tier players are off the board. Might as well start chasing the top tier quarterbacks. There will be some running backs, some receivers in this area that you may want to think about. But right now, Matt Corral, safe selection considering he's going to be a first round quarterback, one of the top quarterbacks off the board, can give you some rushing production. He's going to get the opportunity to compete for a starting job sometime during the early portion of his career. So at 211, you can't really say much about that. At 212, this guy's been in a mock draft before, but not too many, and he is our second tight end selected in this draft. I'm talking about Jalen Whittemire, tight end from Texas A&M. He's a big body dude. He's athletic. He's good at catching the ball. He's been a TE1 in Dynasty for a long time. I look for him to get decent draft capital. I like him. I feel like I'm going to be getting him at a cheaper price point than this in rookie drafts here in the next few months. I feel like he's going to be in the third round range when everything's said and done, unless he goes in a grandiose spot. But I like him. I'll take a chance with him. But tight ends, I'm really not expecting much out of them, so I'm trying to get them at a cheaper price point anyways. But that's it for this 2-round rookie mock draft. Remember, 50 likes and you're getting a 4-round Superflex mock draft headed your way within a couple days. Pound that like button, drop that finger like it's hot. Also, make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. Every subscription matters for the channel. It fuels me to keep putting out this content. I'm the only one out here putting out Dynasty Fantasy Football content on the daily, on the YouTubes. Also, it's mostly rookie draft focused. So once you get to your rookie drafts, you're going to have a Rolodex of content to go through. Different mock drafts, different player analysis, me giving you rankings and everything else. That's why you need to stick around. Hit that subscribe button. Don't be a joke. Again, I want to thank you, and I'll catch you next time.